Welcome to Mythos Bedtime Stories. Tonight, you don't need to solve anything. You don't need to remember anything. You don't need to hold the day together any longer. Tonight, we'll drift into a Greek myth shaped like a lullaby. A story of gods and goddesses who no longer shout from the sky, but instead watch quietly from the edges of dreams. We'll travel through sacred temples and forgotten sanctuaries, past oracles whose prophecies have softened into whispers, through lost civilizations buried under gentle sand, and libraries of hidden wisdom that open only at night. And as we go, the story will become slower, warmer, more distant, until it feels less like listening and more like floating. In ancient Greece, people believed sleep was not an ending, but a doorway. A doorway guarded by Hypnos, the god of sleep, and visited by Morpheus, the shaper of dreams, and watched, sometimes, by Athena, the goddess of wisdom, who understood that the mind needs rest as much as it needs knowledge. So tonight, imagine wisdom that does not demand effort. Imagine mystery that does not create fear. Imagine the unknown as something gentle, like a dark, quiet sea. This story is made for the moment before sleep. It's designed to soften the mind and guide you toward deep, calm rest. If your thoughts wander, that's perfectly fine. If you forget parts of the story, that's perfect too. You are not here to perform. You are here to release. Now, make yourself comfortable. Let Mythos bedtime stories carry the weight for a while. And when you're ready, we'll begin, slowly, with a quiet easing of the body and a gentle loosening of the day. Wherever you are right now, allow your body to settle. Notice the surface beneath you. A bed, a couch, a pillow, a blanket. Something holding you up so you don't have to. Let your jaw loosen. Let your tongue rest. Let your shoulders drop, as if they've finally been given permission. Now take a slow breath in through your nose. Not a big breath, just an easy one. And exhale gently, as if you're fogging a window with warmth. Again, inhale slow and soft. And exhale, letting the day slide away. If your mind is still busy, you don't have to fight it. You don't have to chase thoughts out. Just let them pass by like distant lanterns on a far shore. Now, bring your attention to your forehead. Let it smooth. Let the skin around your eyes relax until your eyelids feel heavier. Let your cheeks soften. Let the muscles around your mouth unclench. Now your neck, your throat, your shoulders. Imagine a warm, quiet light resting on your shoulders like a shawl. That warmth begins to travel down through your arms to your elbows, your wrists, your hands. Let your fingers be loose. Let them curl in whatever way feels natural. No effort, no holding. Now your chest. Your breath is already doing its work. You don't need to control it. Just notice it. A small wave in, a small wave out. Let your stomach soften. Let your belly rise and fall freely. Now your hips, your thighs, your knees. If you notice any tension, imagine it melting like wax near a candle. Let the warmth move down your calves, to your ankles, to your feet. Let your feet be heavy. Let your toes relax. Now your whole body can rest. Your whole body can be still. And with each breath, you can imagine stepping farther away from responsibilities, away from messages, away from plans, away from everything that demands attention. For now, nothing is required of you. In a moment, we'll enter the story. And you'll follow it, like a slow path through moonlit ruins, quiet, sacred, and safe. If you fall asleep, the story will continue without you. It will keep walking gently, even as you drift. Now, one more slow breath in, and a long, soft breath out. Good. Let us begin. There is a place the ancient Greeks rarely spoke of loudly, not because it was forbidden, but because it was quiet. A place at the edge of the world, where the sea becomes dark velvet and the sky feels low and close, where even the wind seems to whisper
instead of roar. They said this place belonged to Hypnos, the god of sleep. Not the kind of sleep that steals you, but the kind that welcomes you. The kind that arrives like a soft cloak, placed carefully over your shoulders. On this shore, there is a long stretch of black sand that glitters faintly under starlight, as if the night has scattered tiny pieces of obsidian. And beyond it, the sea moves slowly, breathing in, breathing out, in the oldest rhythm the world has ever known.
Tonight, in our story, you are walking toward this shore. You are not running. You are not searching. You are simply arriving. With every step, your thoughts become lighter. Behind you, far away, there is a city. There are voices. There are busy days and bright concerns. But here, only the night remains. A pale moon hangs over the water, not sharp, not harsh, just present. You reach the sand and feel it cool beneath your feet. It is not cold in a painful way. It is cool like clean water. Ahead, you see a small temple. Not grand like the temples of Athens, not crowded like Delphi. This one is modest, built from dark stone, with pillars that seem to drink the moonlight. No torches burn. No guards stand outside. Yet you feel welcomed. As you approach, the temple door is already open, as if it has been waiting for you. Inside, the air is still. It smells faintly of laurel and sea salt. The floor is smooth stone, and the ceiling arches high enough to hold a soft echo. In the center, there is a shallow bowl of water. The water is perfectly calm. You step closer and look down. And instead of seeing your reflection, you see a slow-moving sky, filled with clouds drifting like sleepy creatures. A voice speaks. Not loud, not sudden, as if it has been there all along. Rest, it says. Not as a command, but as an invitation. You turn, and in the shadows you sense a presence. Hypnos is not a terrifying god. He is not a storm. He is not a battle. He is a calm. He appears like a gentle figure woven from dusk and quiet air. Eyes deep as twilight. Expression peaceful, unhurried. In one hand,
he holds a small bundle of poppies. In the other, a feather, dark and soft. He does not step forward quickly. He simply exists like night itself.
You have carried enough, Hypnos says. Come closer. You do. And as you do, you feel something ease inside your chest, as if an invisible knot has loosened. Hypnos gestures to the bowl of water. This is the shore of sleep, he says. Not all who come here are asleep, but all who come here are ready. You listen, not with effort, but with surrender. Hypnos continues. Beyond this temple, there is a path. It leads through places most mortals never see, because they are hidden not by walls, but by waking. He smiles faintly. Tonight, you will walk that path. You will visit old sanctuaries and forgotten halls of wisdom, and temples where prophecies have softened into silence. But there is one rule. You wait. Hypnos lifts the feather. You must not hurry. You must not force understanding. If a mystery feels too heavy, you may set it down. He lowers the feather, and the air itself seems to become softer. Sleep is not earned, Hypnos says. Sleep is allowed. He steps aside, revealing an archway behind him. Beyond the archway, there is darkness, not frightening darkness, but the kind that feels like a blanket, the kind that feels safe. Hypnos speaks one more time, even softer now. Walk gently, he says. And when you grow tired, let the story carry you. You pass through the archway, and the temple of Hypnos fades behind you, like a memory already becoming a dream. The darkness beyond Hypnos's temple is not empty. It is full of slow, quiet life. You walk along a path made of pale stone. On either side, tall grasses sway in a wind you cannot feel. Somewhere far off, a night bird calls once, and then the world returns to silence. Ahead, a soft glow begins to form, not bright like fire, but dim like moonlight through mist. As you draw nearer, you realize the glow comes from flowers. A garden, a vast garden stretching into the dark, filled with blossoms that do not exist in daylight. Their petals are pale silver, soft blue, deep indigo. They open slowly, as if breathing, and the air smells like distant rain. In the center of the garden, there is a figure seated on a low stone bench, watching the flowers as if they are old friends. Morpheus, the shaper of dreams. In ancient stories, Morpheus is the one who gives dreams their form, faces, places, voices, the strange logic of sleep.
He is not loud. He is not dramatic. He is patient. He wears a cloak that seems made of drifting mist. His hair is dark, and his eyes carry the calm of someone who has watched countless minds let go. He looks up as you arrive. "You came through hypnos," he says, as if this is the most natural thing in the world. You nod. Morpheus gestures to the flowers. "Here," he says, "dreams grow like gardens. They are not built. They are not forced. They bloom when the mind becomes quiet enough." You step closer. The blossoms sway gently, though there is almost no breeze. Morpheus reaches down and touches one flower with his fingertip. It trembles and releases a tiny shimmer into the air. The shimmer drifts upward and disappears into the night. "That," Morpheus says softly, "was a dream you didn't need. A dream about worry. A dream about work. A dream about what-ifs." He looks at you kindly. Do you want to let go of a few more? You don't answer with words. You simply stand there. And somehow that is enough. Morpheus rises slowly and walks between the flowers. As he passes, blossoms release more shimmers, tiny lights that drift away, taking with them the weight of thoughts. A dream about being late, a dream about missing something, a dream about holding it all together. Morpheus speaks as he walks. "Mortals think dreams are messages," he says. Sometimes they are. But often dreams are simply the mind exhaling, a way of letting go. He stops near a small fountain. The water trickles softly.
the quietest sound you've heard so far. This garden, he says, leads to a temple of quiet prophecies. You remember the word prophecy. It sounds important. It sounds heavy. Morpheus seems to sense this, and his voice becomes even gentler. Prophecy does not have to be sharp, he says. It can be soft. It can be like fog, like a hint, like a lullaby. He cups a little fountain water in his hand and lets it slip through his fingers. Here is the only prophecy you need tonight, Morpheus whispers. You lean in, not with tension, but with curiosity that feels sleepy.
Morpheus says, "You will rest, and rest will be enough." The garden seems to breathe around you. Morpheus returns to the stone bench and sits again. "If you wish," he says, "you may continue. Athena waits beyond the next gate. She guards hidden knowledge, and she knows how to keep it gentle." You look ahead, and you notice a gate made of pale marble, half covered in vines. Beyond it, a wide path disappears into shadow. Morpheus gives you a final soft smile. "Walk slowly," he says, "and if your eyes grow heavy, that is the story working." You step through the gate, and behind you, the dream flowers continue their quiet blooming, as if they will bloom forever. The path beyond Morpheus's garden is lined with olive trees. Their leaves catch faint starlight and flicker softly like tiny, sleepy flames. The air here is warmer, not hot, just comforting. And after a while, you see a structure rising in the distance. A library. Not a modern library, not a place of sharp lights and noise. This is a library built like a temple. Columns of white stone, steps wide and worn, doors carved with owls and olive branches. Above the entrance, a single symbol, the owl of Athena. As you approach, you feel a sense of calm intelligence. Not the kind that demands effort, but the kind that reassures you. You are safe. The doors open without a sound. Inside, the library is dim and golden, lit by small lamps that burn with steady, quiet light. There are shelves upon shelves filled with scrolls and tablets, stories, maps, hymns,
mysteries. And yet nothing feels overwhelming. It feels like a place meant for slow thinking, or perhaps for no thinking at all. In the center, beneath a high dome, stands Athena. She is tall and still, armored not for war tonight, but for protection of peace. Her helmet is pushed back, and her eyes are clear. She looks at you, and her gaze does not judge. It simply sees. "Welcome," Athena says, her voice calm as deep water. "You have come seeking stories, but also seeking silence." You nod. Athena steps closer. In her hand, she holds a small object, a simple stone carved with faint symbols. "This," she says, "is a key, not to a door of wood or iron, but to a door of understanding." She places the stone in your palm. It is warm, as if it has been held in sunlight. "Tonight," Athena continues, "you will not learn with strain. You will not memorize. You will not work. You will simply receive." She gestures to the shelves. "Hidden knowledge," she says, "is not always meant to awaken the mind. Sometimes it is meant to soothe it, because the mind, too, is sacred." Athena leads you between the shelves. As you walk, you pass scrolls with titles etched in ancient Greek, some faded, some bright. You see maps of islands that no longer exist, constellations drawn differently than the stars above, and stories of temples swallowed by earth. Athena stops at one shelf and pulls out a scroll. She does not open it. Instead, she holds it like a sleeping thing. "This is the story of a lost city," she says. "A city that vanished without war, without fire, without screams." She looks at you. It disappeared into quiet. She returns the scroll. "Mortals fear the unknown," Athena says, "because the unknown can be sharp. But the unknown can also be gentle." She guides you to a table where a shallow bowl of water sits, like the one in Hypnosis Temple, but brighter. "This water," Athena says, "shows what the mind is ready to see." You look in, and you see a coastline. Not your coastline, a strange one, with cliffs carved like steps and a temple perched above the sea. "Where is that?" you whisper. Athena's voice is soft. "It is a sanctuary," she says. "One that was built for prophecy, but prophecy that does not frighten. Prophecy that comforts. Prophecy that speaks of fate as a warm current, not a storm." She places her hand near the bowl, and the image becomes clearer. A path leading down into earth. A doorway marked with symbols of thread and moonlight. "The Murai," Athena says. "Wait there." The Fates, Clothos, Lachesis, and Atropos, the spinners of life's thread. Many fear them because fate sounds final. But Athena's eyes remain calm. "Tonight," she says, "you will meet them in their gentlest form, not as judges, but as weavers of peace." She takes back the stone key from your palm, holds it briefly, and then returns it. "Keep it," she says. "It will guide you through what is hidden." Athena leads you to the library's far side, where a small door stands between two tall shelves. It is plain, almost unnoticeable. On it, a carved owl. "This door," Athena says, "leads to sacred ground, to temples and rituals that have been forgotten by waking minds." She pauses. "If you feel sleep pulling you now, that is correct. You are doing perfectly." Athena opens the door. A cool night breeze slips in. Beyond the threshold, you see a long set of steps descending into darkness, lit by faint, calm lanterns. Athena speaks one more time. "Walk slowly," she says. "And remember, you do not have to carry your fate tonight. Let it carry you." You step down, and the library's warm light fades behind you, like a thought becoming a dream. The steps descend a long way, but they do not feel tiring. Each step is smooth. Each step is steady. And the lanterns glow with a soft, honeyed light. As you go deeper, the air becomes cooler, cleaner, like the air before dawn. At the bottom, the stairs open into a wide hall. A temple hall. The ceiling is high, supported by pillars carved with gentle symbols. Waves, olives, owls, and sleeping faces. There is no crowd here, no priests, no echo of busy voices, only silence. In the center, there is a round dais, and upon it rests a single object, a stone basin filled with dark water. This is not ordinary water. It seems deeper than it should be. As you approach, you hear something. Not a sound exactly, but a feeling, like the memory of a voice, like a whisper without words. Then you see her. Not Apollo's loud oracle, not the smoke-filled frenzy of Delphi. This oracle is different. She sits calmly beside the basin, wrapped in simple cloth. Her hair is silver, and her eyes are half-lidded, as if she is always close to sleep.
When she speaks, her voice is so soft, it feels like it comes from inside your own breathing. "Welcome," she says. "You have come to hear what is not said." You sit, or kneel, or simply rest, however your body wants to be. The oracle leans toward the basin. "Prophecies," she whispers, "were once shouted. Kings demanded them. Warriors used them. Pride chased them. But here, prophecies have become kind." She dips her fingers into the basin, and the surface ripples slowly. In the ripples, images begin to rise. Not sharp images, not urgent, soft images. A candle burning low, a door closing gently, a hand setting down a heavy stone. The oracle speaks. "Your fate," she says, "is not a punishment. It is not a trap. It is a path." The basin shows a road through olive groves. A long, easy road. No enemies, no storms. You do not have to know the whole path tonight.
The oracle continues.
You only have to rest. The ripples change. Now you see thread. Thin, shining thread, winding through a loom.
The oracle smiles faintly. "The Moirai are near," she says. "They weave quietly below this temple, in a chamber older than memory." She gestures to the side of the hall. There is a narrow passage, half hidden behind a pillar. "The passage leads to them," she says. "Along the way, you will pass a lost city, a civilization that chose silence." You look again into the basin. Now you see stone towers under sand, columns broken but peaceful, streets empty but not tragic, a city asleep. The oracle's voice becomes even softer. "Some stories are not meant to end,"
she says. Some stories are meant to fade, so the mind can drift. She reaches into a small basket and takes out a single poppy. She places it in your palm. "Take this," she says. "It is the symbol of letting go." You hold it. It is delicate yet steady. The oracle speaks one last prophecy, quiet enough to feel like a lullaby. Tonight you will be safe. Tonight you will be quiet. Tonight you will sleep. The lanterns seem to dim slightly, as if agreeing. You stand slowly. The passage waits. And with the poppy in your hand, you begin to walk, not toward answers, but toward deeper calm. The passage is narrow, but not confining. Its walls are carved with simple reliefs. People walking, people resting, people lying beneath trees. A civilization that valued stillness. Soon, the passage opens into an underground cavern. And there, you see it. A city. Not ruined in violence, but buried in time. Streets of pale stone, covered in a thin layer of soft sand. Doorways leading into dark, quiet homes. A central plaza with a dry fountain, its basin filled with sand like a sleeping pool. This city feels like someone closed a book gently and left it on a shelf. No panic, no tragedy, only quiet. You step into the plaza. Your footsteps make the faintest sound. As you walk, you notice inscriptions on walls, Greek letters softened by age. You cannot read them fully, but you can feel their meaning. Rest. Remember gently. Let go. In one corner of the plaza, there is a small temple. Its roof is partly buried, but its columns still stand.
Inside, there is a statue, not of Zeus, not of Ares, not of any loud god. This statue is of Hypnos. Here, the city worshipped sleep, not laziness, not escape. Sleep as sacred return. You stand before the statue, and you feel your own eyelids heavier. Somewhere far above, the world continues, busy and bright. But down here, time has slowed to almost nothing. You imagine the people who lived here. They woke with the sun,
worked without frenzy, shared meals slowly, and ended each day with rituals of silence. Perhaps at night, they walked to this temple of Hypnos and offered poppies and thanked the god of sleep for carrying them. You take the poppy in your hand and hold it close. You do not need to offer it. Simply holding it is enough. As you leave the temple, you notice a path leading onward, a path between buildings toward a deeper chamber. The sand becomes thicker. The air becomes warmer and darker. And still, everything feels safe. You walk slowly.
And with each step, you feel less like you are walking and more like you are drifting. At the end of the path, you find a door. It is carved with 3 symbols: a spindle, a measuring rod, and a pair of shears. The Moirai, the Fates. You place your hand on the door. The stone key Athena gave you feels warm in your pocket, as if it knows what to do. You bring it out. The symbols on the door glow faintly. The door opens without sound, and you step into the chamber where fate is woven. Not with fear, but with quiet hands.
The chamber is round, like the inside of a great loom. The walls are carved with spirals, like waves, like shells, like the curl of a sleeping breath. In the center, 3 figures sit at a wide wooden loom. They do not look harsh. They do not look cruel. They look ancient and calm, as if they have been here forever and will remain forever, without urgency. Clotho sits on the left. Her hands spin thread from something that looks like moonlight. Lachesis sits in the middle. She measures the thread, not with strictness, but with quiet attention. Atropos sits on the right. She holds the shears, but they rest in her lap, closed, patient. They look up as you enter. Their eyes are deep, like wells at night. Clotho speaks first, in a voice like soft wool. "Welcome," she says. "You are not here to be judged. You are here to be soothed." Lachesis speaks next, slow and gentle.
Mortals fear us, she says, because they think fate is a cage. But fate is also a blanket, woven to hold you. Atropos speaks last, her voice calm and low. And endings, she says, are not always sharp. Sometimes an ending is simply sleep. The three return their attention to the loom. You watch the thread. It moves steadily, glowing faintly in the dark. Clotho spins. Lachesis measures. Atropos watches. Lachesis gestures softly, inviting you to sit. You do. The stone floor is cool and steady beneath you. Clotho holds up a strand of thread. It shimmers. It does not feel like a timeline. It feels like a lullaby. This thread, Clotho says, contains all your days. You feel a flicker of worry. All your days? All your choices? But Clotho's gaze is kind, and the worry dissolves. Not to burden you, Clotho says, only to remind you, you are held. Lachesis touches the thread gently. Tonight, she says, you do not need to measure your life. You do not need to plan. You do not need to predict. You are allowed to pause. Atropos lifts the shears slightly, not threatening, just showing them. Even I, she says softly, do not cut tonight. Tonight is for rest. The loom continues its quiet work. Clotho speaks again. Do you know, she asks, why the gods do not sleep like mortals? You shake your head. Because gods do not carry time the same way, Clotho says. But even gods, she pauses, need silence. Lachesis nods. Athena understands, she says. Morpheus understands. Hypnos understands. And even Zeus, she adds with a faint softness, falls quiet at night when the world sleeps. Atropos leans forward slightly. Tonight, she says, we give you a gift. Not knowledge that wakes you, but knowledge that calms you. She reaches into the loom and draws out a small loop of thread, a ring of moonlight. She holds it out to you. You take it.
It is weightless. It feels like nothing, and yet it feels like peace. This, Atrikos says, is the thread of silence. Clotho continues. When you hold it, your mind can remember. You do not have to fight sleep. You can simply enter it. Lachesis adds, and if you wake in the night, you can imagine this thread wrapping gently around your thoughts, quieting them. The three fates return to their weaving. Their movements are slow, steady, soothing to watch. And as you sit in this chamber, you feel a powerful sense of inevitability. Not frightening inevitability, but comforting inevitability. The inevitability of rest. The inevitability that the night will carry you. Clotho speaks one final time, soft as breath. It is time, she says, to return to Hypnos. Lachesis nods. The path back is gentle, she says. Atropos closes her eyes. And if you fall asleep on the way, she murmurs, we will continue weaving without you. Everything will be fine. You stand slowly, holding the thread of silence, and you leave the chamber, your steps slower than before.
On your way back through the buried city, everything feels softer. The sand looks like velvet. The air feels like warm smoke. The buildings seem farther away, as if your eyes are already half dreaming. You pass the Temple of Hypnos again. You do not enter this time. You simply bow your head slightly, as if thanking the city for its quiet. The passage leads you upward, back toward the Temple of Quiet Prophecies. But the oracle is no longer there. Only the basin remains, still and dark. You look into it. This time, no images rise, only darkness. And in that darkness, you realize something. Some stories are not meant to be told out loud. Some are meant to be felt, like the hush between waves, like the pause between breaths, like the softness behind closed eyes. This is the unsaid story, the forbidden story, not forbidden by danger, but forbidden by noise. A story the mind cannot grasp when it is awake,
because waking minds want edges and meaning. But sleeping minds only want comfort. You hold the thread of silence. It glows faintly, and you understand. The unsaid story is simply this:
that you are allowed to rest, that the world will continue, that the gods will not punish you for sleeping, that even the fates are gentle in the dark. You turn away from the basin and continue down the hall. The lanterns dim. The pillars blur slightly, as if the temple itself is becoming a dream. The passage rises again until you feel sea air, salt and night. You step out and you are back on the shore of Hypnos. The black sand glitters faintly. The sea breathes. The moon watches. Hypnos stands near the temple door as if he never moved. He looks at you and smiles softly. You went far, he says, and you did well. You hold up the thread of silence. Hypnos nods. A good gift, he says, one that does not awaken, one that quiets. He opens his palm, showing the feather again. Now, he says, it is time to let the story become sleep. He steps closer, and the air thickens into softness, like a blanket falling. Hypnos's voice is almost a whisper now. You do not need to walk anymore, he says. You do not need to listen carefully anymore. You may drift. He lifts the feather and brushes it lightly through the air, not touching you, only near you. And you feel your thoughts slow. Your eyelids grow heavier. The sea's rhythm grows louder, not in volume, but in presence. In, out, in, out. Hypnos speaks one last time. Sleep. He whispers. And let the gods be quiet. The shore begins to fade. The moon becomes a soft blur. And the story loosens its hold, gentling itself into darkness. You are safe. You are quiet. You are drifting.
Now, there is nothing you need to do. The story has walked far enough. It can rest now, too. Imagine the thread of silence resting lightly around you. Not tight, not heavy, just present. Like a gentle loop of moonlight circling your thoughts, keeping them calm. If a thought appears, let it float past, like a small boat, far away on dark water. If you remember Hypnos, imagine his calm presence nearby, not demanding, only offering. If you remember Morpheus, imagine the dream flowers opening slowly, releasing shimmering worries into the air. If you remember Athena, imagine her library warm and dim, shelves full of knowledge that does not need to be carried tonight. And if you remember the Fates, imagine their hands moving slowly at the loom, weaving not pressure, not fear, but peace. Your breath is enough. In and out. In and out. Let your forehead soften again. Let your shoulders sink. Let your arms be heavy. Let your legs relax. Let your whole body become more and more still. The sea continues its gentle breathing. In, out. In, out.
The night continues. The world continues. And you are allowed to disappear into sleep for a while. You are allowed to become quiet. You are allowed to become empty of effort. You do not need to finish anything. You do not need to hold anything. Just rest. Just drift. Just sleep. In and out. In and out. And as you go, as you sink, as you soften, the story becomes only a feeling, a dark, warm calm, until even that feeling fades, and there is only sleep. Only silence, only night. Good night.